सुनने वालों को सिराज ज़ैदी का बहुत बहुत प्यार भरा आदाब, नमस्कार and good afternoon. Welcome to Apna Radio, broadcasting at 93.9 Dublin South FM. Each Thursday from 3 to 4, I'm here broadcasting from the studio to the world. Tune me in. सुनने वालों को सिराज ज़ैदी का बहुत बहुत प्यार भरा आदाब, नमस्कार and good afternoon. You're very welcome to the program. You're listening to Apna Radio, broadcasting at 93.9 Dublin South FM. Today's program, obviously you have heard the news, you've been watching clips, you've been watching videos, you've been watching television clips, news, wherever you get your podcast, and all that information about the delectable attack on Pakistan by the Indian Army in the retaliation of the pahalgam attack that we've been talking about that in the last 2-3 programs. So today's program is going to be very heavy, to say the least, but it will be factual, it will be to the point, and it will be about what's going on in that part of the world, which is our part of the world, called the Indian subcontinent. India, Pakistan is at war right now. And all the news channel and all the so-called, the delectable, prominent news readers, newscasters, the Wire, Ravish Kumar, you name it, they're all at it 24/7 since the last 2 days ago when the attack took place on Tuesday night on Pakistani soil from India. Now, India has retaliated. India's promised to retaliate and fulfilled that promise by taking an apt reaction and a response to the pahalgam attack, in which 26 people were killed mercilessly after asking their religion. That has always been, so it looks like an undercurrent of religion has been running ever since this operation has happened. And in fact, the operation, also called the Operation Sindoor, and Operation Sindoor is also an apt name for taken from the cue from that lady who has been husband has been killed in front of her, the newly married couple whose Sindoor has been shattered. So all of that is going to be talked about it today, and of course the Charmain Colvin is here with the news. So I will take Charmain to talk about the news, and then I'll come back to talk about what else need to be talked about it. So Charmain, you take it away. Welcome back to the program, and thank you very much, Charmain. Very apt, very appropriate, and things that is very factual at the moment. But talking about, just before the news clip, I was talking about the Operation Sindoor, and what is Operation Sindoor and why and how it's been executed. Efficiently, obviously, Indian Army is one of the best army in the world, third largest army in the world, extremely well trained and moduled on the training of the British Army. And therefore, the promise of the army was delivered, and Operation Sindoor has been declared a successful operation. How? Because they have actually targeted not military targets, not civilian targets. They have targeted the one who were culprit. And who were the culprit? Culprits were basically the terrorist camp inside the Pakistan-controlled Kashmir, Muzaffarabad, all of that places around that Sindh region and all that. Not in Sindh region, sorry, beg your pardon, not in Sindh region, but in the valley of around that Punjab region, in fact. Bhavalpur is also included. But I'm going to run it a clip here of press conference that has taken place in Delhi, and to a very confident Colonel Sophia Qureshi has actually, who was an Indian Muslim colonel, and also another colleague of her, they conducted a joint press conference talking about the Operation Sindoor. So it is very much a Nari Shakti, they're declaring it, and indeed led by the fact that, of course, the execution of the Operation Sindoor is, whoever, I don't know who the pilots were, who the operator was, but it is very much a revenge for the young couple who had been killed mercilessly, point blank, at the pahalgam plains 15 days ago. So what she's talking about, Colonel Sophia Qureshi, is very simple fact that what are these things? I mean, what are the, these targets that they were being talked about it, and they were being, very much, explained by the all the people who have been, watching and listening and all that. So all in all, 9 targets have been hit, and all 9 targets were the terrorist targets, in which all the terrorist activity has been happening across the border into India, and so on and so forth. So it is an appropriate, befitting response to the attack. And so what she's talking about is the actual explaining who these targets were. So there you go. Sit back, relax, and watch and hear, and not watch, but hear these spots.
सवाई नाला कैंप मुजफ्फराबाद, जो कि पीओजेके के लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल से 30 किलोमीटर दूर है, यह एक लश्कर तौयबा का ट्रेनिंग सेंटर था। 20 अक्टूबर 2024 सोनमर्ग, 24 अक्टूबर 24 गुलमर्ग, 22 अप्रैल 2025 पहलगाम, इन हमलों के आतंकियों ने यहीं से प्रशिक्षण लिया था। सैयदना बिलाल कैंप मुजफ्फराबाद, यह एक जैश मोहम्मद का स्टेजिंग एरिया है। यह हथियार, विस्फोटक और जंगल सर्वाइवल ट्रेनिंग का केंद्र भी था। गुलपुर कैंप कोटली, यह एलओसी से 30 किलोमीटर दूर था। लश्कर तौयबा का बेस था, जो रजौरी, पुंछ में सक्रिय था। 20 अप्रैल 2023 को पुंछ में और 9 जून 2024 को तीर्थ यात्रियों के बस हमले में यहीं से आतंकी को ट्रेन किया गया था। बरनाला कैंप बिम्बर, यह एलओसी से 9 किलोमीटर दूर है। यहाँ पर हथियार, हैंडलिंग, आईईडी व जंगल सर्वाइवल का प्रशिक्षण केंद्र था। अब्बास कैंप कोटली, यह एलओसी से 13 किलोमीटर दूर है। लश्कर तौयबा का फिदाइन यहाँ तैयार होता था। इसकी कैपेसिटी 15 टेररिस्ट को ट्रेन करने की थी। अब मैं पाकिस्तान के अंदर के टारगेट से अवगत कराना चाहूँगी। पहला, सर्जल कैंप सियालकोट, यह अंतर्राष्ट्रीय सीमा से 6 किलोमीटर की दूरी पर है, सांबा कठुआ के सामने। मार्च 2025 में जम्मू एंड कश्मीर पुलिस के 4 जवानों को की जो हत्या की गई थी, उन आतंकवादियों को इसी जगह पर ट्रेन किया गया था। दूसरा, महमूना जाया कैंप सियालकोट, यह 18 से 12 किलोमीटर आईबी से दूर था। हिजबुल मुजाहिदीन का बहुत बड़ा कैंप था। यह कठुआ जम्मू क्षेत्र में आतंक फैलाने का नियंत्रण केंद्र था। पठानकोट एयरफोर्स बेस पर किया गया हमला भी इसी कैंप से प्लान और डायरेक्ट किया गया था।
That is to the point locations where all the targets have been hit by the Indian Army. So What has been talked about it is that 9 targets have been hit inside the Pakistan territory. Pakistan is obviously claiming that they have shot down, 5 Indian aircraft, which is absolutely rubbish, because nobody is actually confirming those facts. Maybe one aircraft, which could be downed by the Pakistani army, but they're not capable to doing anything such a thing, because that's what people are talking about it, that this war is slightly different. Now, crux of the matter is that it is not a war of escalation. They've been warned by the so-called Big Brother, i.e. Donald Trump, in America and all the international powers, that you would not escalate, because escalation means you know what. Both countries have nuclear capabilities, and it can be detrimental to the existence of the whole world, not only that region. So the warning were that yes, you do deserve the retribution. You do deserve the retaliation, but do return the retaliation at the specific target, controlled, and do not escalate. So therefore, no army targets have been hit. No civilians target has been heavily populated civilian target has been hit. Only those who Colonel Safiya Qureshi has just mentioned, that these are the kind of targets that has been talked about it in Muzaffarabad, in Kotla, in whatever that region is. And a list is available online if you're really interested in. See the 9 targets where there's been hit. So, yes, it is unfortunate that we have come to the point whereby a war has broken, unfortunately, it had to happen, because the mood of the nation has been very, 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 angry. And the demand of the hour was in the nation. And then this time is the country is united. There's no division. Opposition is united. And it is not a religious war, as has been interpreted from the day one. Now, another pictures emerging later on that people do frame this kind of tension, that they are actually talking about, it is not a Hindu-Muslim war. Why I played Colonel Safiya Qureshi's clip, because she is a army officer in the Indian Army. She's Muslim Indian. So therefore, all Muslims Indians are behind this particular attack and endorse the full-fledged, the work of the Indian Army, Indian Armed Forces, and the Department of Defense, because that's what it's all about. India is a mature country. It's not an immature country, rogue country, or anything like that. So whatever the steps they have taken a very powerful steps with responsibility and with the, targeted, the targeted attack on these targets, because these are, mind you, all terrorist targets where the training are taking place. And not only this particular pahalgam one, but before that, as she said, many, many targets were being done by the people who are trained there. So it's a quite common thing for these guys to actually use these training camps to go to India and do their dirty work. But talking about the dirty work, we have another wonderful clip, and I'll mention it after the clip from Sharad Awasthi, our London correspondent from London. He's talking about this wonderful analysis that he has been working on about why and how the war is, taking place and has unfortunately taken place. But this is not a full-scale war between the two nations, mind you. It is not an India-Pakistan war. It is obviously happened because something had to happen. And so therefore, sit back, relax, and listen to Sharad, what he has to say.
Thank you. Today I am bringing a mix of current affairs, history of Indian subcontinent, geopolitics, international history, and policy making. All this in light of India-Pakistan tension and the terror attack in Pahalgam. So Indian forces have used their military might to target 9 terror camps located in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, as well as within Pakistani territory. This was a late-night operation, Operation Sindoor, as you would know, and it was intended to avenge the recent terror attacks on tourists in Pahalgam. Following the attack in Pahalgam, there was a surge of anger across the country. The national mood was unmistakably in favor of a retribution, and the rhetoric around taking such action against Pakistan intensified over these 15 days. As a result, in the intervening night of May 6th and 7th, India launched this military action. A salute and deep respect to the brave Indian Army commanders and soldiers who took part in this operation. Their action have sent a very clear message that India maintains a zero-tolerance policy towards terrorism. But the problem runs far deeper than simply demolishing terror camps through these sophisticated airstrikes. It is deeper than the contest over Kashmir or the question of Kashmiri rights. It goes beyond the volatile dynamics of India-Pakistan relations. Why I am saying so? Because just last week, Pakistan's defense minister openly claimed that Pakistan had been doing the dirty work, quote-unquote, of the West for decades. It is from this soil, Pakistan soil, that the idea of terror camps and the training of youth for militant purposes took its root. And now, the consequence of that dirty work, if you see, is spilling into India. Look at this piece of history that is now affecting India. This is the true source of problem. India alone cannot cure this disease that the West, for its strategic convenience, helped to embed in our neighborhood. The disease of terror has been infected in our neighborhood. As our late Dr. Manmohan Singh said, you cannot choose your neighbors, but you can choose your friends. He was a respected statesman, known worldwide for his wisdom. And with his words, India's policy towards a long-term peace needs to be tailored. For India to have a long-term peace, it is imperative that we help shape a healthier neighborhood, fix the fundamental problems with a joint effort of the neighborhood. If you look over the years, 8 decades, India cannot endlessly keep fighting its neighbors like Pakistan and repeating the same actions and anticipating a new outcome is quite painfully futile. We are counting the number of wars, we are counting the number of war deaths. This cannot be India's national policy. My question is, will surgical strikes or putting Pakistan in the grey list on international platforms eradicate the terror infrastructure? We have applied these formulas and methodologies before, yet every time the perpetrators adapt to an innovative method, whether it was Mumbai attack, the beheading of Indian soldiers, continuous shelling of Indian villages across the line of control, stone pelting in Kashmir by the youths, unemployed youths, Pulwama suicide attack, and now the Pahalgam massacre of innocent tourists. Each event has found a way to break through, so these methods are not working. Meanwhile, on both sides of the border, if you observe, political forces weaponize this grief and nationalism for electoral gains. Kashmir has been a top issue in Pakistan. It is shameful, yet an effective political strategy is prevailing in our times. We might be so knowledgeable and well informed, still, this weaponization of grief both in India and Pakistan is being used for electoral gains. This rhetoric and emotional frenzy will subdue in a few days' time. By the time I return next week on May 14th, the surgical strikes will already begin to fade from public memory. It is short. And for a test, I am asking, how many terror attacks since 1990 can you actually remember? So my point is, public memory is short. Hence, the solution that we as Indians should wisely pursue and propose must be long-term. What I'm saying may not be the most popular stance today, but now is exactly the time to ask difficult questions about the approach the Indian government is taking to resolve this long-standing issue. Before proposing solutions, we must ask fundamental, why do Indian youths from affluent cities like Gurgaon, Bangalore, Hyderabad not join any group to reclaim 𝐢𝐭𝐲 𝐻𝐿 from China as the Pakistani youth are trying to fight for the Kashmiri rights? Or why are the Indian youths not creating some armed groups against the Bangladeshi current government to protect their Hindu brethren in that country? They are not doing it because the answer lies in fundamentals. India as a community and society is built on the pillars of education, economic opportunity, employment, and peaceful coexistence, irrespective of caste or religion. Diversity is India's strength. The democratic policy making is India's fundamental. Even if there is poverty, India currently feeds 82 crore Indians. So the strength of the Indian democracy and policy is what is holding the fundamentals of the youth. But if we leave our youth directionless, jobless, steeped in poverty, without a government policy, they can easily fall prey to radical ideologies, taking up arms, and then motivated by rhetoric, often masked as patriotism. This is what is happening in Pakistan right now. There is a toxic mix of poverty, misgovernance, and indoctrination, and that has led to creation of terror camps and weaponization of the poor for the political ends. In effect, Pakistan's Defense Minister Khwaja Asif admitted to this very situation in Pakistan. Therefore, India must now adopt a bold strategy to halt the spillover of this dirty work and the dangerous ideology that is growing in those terror camps in Pakistan. India's strategy must look, therefore, 10 to 15 years ahead. How is it possible? India currently possesses significant economic clout. The world is watching India. Our policymaker must use this economic leverage to hold Western powers like Britain and the United States accountable. They were complicit in shaping Pakistan's role as a pawn in Cold War geopolitics and must now help India to undo that damage. This means working with these foreign powers to fix Pakistani democracy at the first instance, to fix poverty in Pakistan, and encourage long-term peace and development in India's neighborhood. If India's neighbors remain unstable, we will continue to face terror attacks and unrest. Kashmiri suffering will persist for another century, I would say, unless we help shift the mindset and reduce poverty, misled youths across the border. The West must be, therefore, I would say, be a comprehensive part of the peace plan for this Indian subcontinent. We do have the tools of diplomacy and the economic power to forge conditional trade deals with Britain and the US, push them to take ownership of stabilizing Pakistan's internal chaos. Just 2 days ago, India signed a free trade agreement with Britain. I need to ask question to our Indian policymakers as to why peace in the Indian subcontinent should not have been part of this free trade agreement, when Britain had been part of the dirty work, as they say, in the Indian subcontinent. It may sound unrealistic for now, but let me bring in some piece of European history. This is exactly how the European Union has helped transform economically and politically fragile neighbors like Romania and Bulgaria. Time to time, they have also put economic conditionalities and structural development plans like they did in Portugal. So Europe is making its neighborhood safe. European Union membership, if a country wants, like Turkey is bidding so hard about it, the country requires to meet hundreds of conditions, and this leverage has made European borders safer and more prosperous. India must apply a similar regional model, and this model must have economic diplomacy and political strategy to secure lasting peace across the subcontinent. Back to today. At present, the noise of war rhetoric is drowning out the space for wisdom. Just as India brought economic growth and tourism to Kashmir Valley, which in turn improved local sentiments and led to peaceful democratic elections, we must apply the same logic across the region. If this economic growth model continues in the Kashmir Valley, there is little reason for the Kashmiri youth to side with terror or any separatist group. That success story must be replicated. Looking ahead to India of 2047, because that is the time I would expect the border issues would heal. Peace in the region should be the top priority. If Europe can reconcile with the enemies of World War I and II, Germany and Britain can reconcile their friendship, why can't we in the Indian subcontinent envision a future of cooperation between India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and even China? At the end of the day, there are no winners in the war, we know that. As Indians, we must not allow our soldiers to become cannon fodders. Lives are not just numbers. I say this after closely observing the rhetoric on both the Indian and the Pakistani news channels. It feels disturbing, like a scorecard of lost lives on either side competing to claim higher numbers as though it was a tragic Game of Thrones. But terror attacks, surgical strikes, skirmishes, and even full-scale wars only delay the process of healing. The scars they leave behind can take generations to fade. We have seen that after the World War. For now, we salute the Indian Armed Forces who executed their mission with professionalism and bravery. But I leave these thoughts with policymakers and fellow Indians. Let us move forward with a constructive vision for a developed and peaceful Viksit India of 2047. With those words of gratitude for the armed forces and condolences for the lives lost in these attacks, I leave you until next week. Stay safe, stay informed, and keep asking the right questions. Bye for now.
Dublin South FM.
You wouldn't buy a car without knowing its history. So why would you buy a story without knowing who's telling it? Come here and I tell you. It's not always easy to verify what you see, read, or hear. But now there's help. Visit www.bemediasmart.ie. Stop, think, check. Be Media Smart. Brought to you by Media Literacy Ireland, supported by RTE.
93.9 Dublin South FM.
Welcome back to the program, and thank you very much indeed, Sharad, for a very good analysis, very logical analysis of what this disturbing news that is emerging in our social media and our Twitter handles and our Facebook channels and things like that. That people are sharing all sorts of things about it. First thing first, I must say that first thing in any war is the casualty of the truth. Truth is the biggest, and the first casualty of truth takes place, and that's the same thing, that you spread rumors that we've killed so many people, we have destroyed so many people, so many targets and things like that. But actual truth emerges eventually when the dust settles, as we call it. So why was the need for such a action? Yes, there was an absolutely befitting reason for doing this kind of an aggressive, surgical strike, as we call it. Targeted surgical strike, that's what I would call it. And, salute to the Indian Armed Forces who know the region very well, who know very well how to handle the skirmishes from across the border. Now, that kind of thing which Sharad has hinted upon, that is that the cooperation of the regional cooperation has been initiated by SAREC. It was been South Asian Region Economics, cooperation has been set up years ago when I think it was Mr. Bhutto was around, and other reasonable educated heads in both governments in Pakistan and in India. And the SAREC has been now shattered. There is no SAREC anymore. But if you imagine the potential that a region exists, no superpowers like America or Europe or anything like that who would interfere in India, because of this fact that if they will unite, and particularly cooperation between India, China, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, all of these, Nepal, all of these countries, if they have cooperation going on in their country, in the region, in the neighborhood, what can they achieve? The manpower they have, the technology they have, the resources they have, the education they have. They're not uneducated people. People are very, very highly educated people. But what is the culprit? Who is dividing them? Who is actually creating this kind of tension? Unfortunately, our, the current regime, on both sides, I would say, is not in that mood to create so-called SARAC, resurrection of SARAC cooperation. Because if that would happen, then the whole world would benefit from their cooperation. But perhaps maybe, then the people who are trying to sell the arms to the region will be disappointed, because that's what the war is all about. War is a failure for humanity. War is not. If you go back to my Facebook page, Siraj Zaidi's Facebook page, I have listed that I have a vision, a man with a peace vision of the world. We have inherited for a short period of time. We all have inherited this world for a very, very short period of time. And in that period, if you can create a peace, and I'm a peaceful man, I believe in peace, I like to promote peace, not war. War and peace are the dichotomy of the two logics that has been going on. And not only in this region, but also the war in Ukraine is a disturbing war that I'm committed this year to highlight through my film festival, the 16th Indian Film Festival of Ireland, that will take place in September this year, from 5th to 7th of September. And the theme is the Ukrainian war. Why? Because Ukraine is draining the economy of Europe. Yes, 350 billion euro has been committed to the war. For what? To buy the drones and bombs for Zelensky. And nobody can challenge Mr. Putin. The armed forces of Mr. Putin, who celebrated recently the victory of Second World War, as has been mentioned, what we have learned from those Second World War, First World War, European war, and narrow it down to, look, now we have a peace in Northern Ireland here. A small country like Ireland, who always had a problem with the 6 counties up in the north, and there was an armed forces and there was an army and all that. That has gone. Peace now prevailing. I made a television documentary called Our Vision, our vision, and peace in the region after the first peace process that has been signed almost about 30 years ago. So that's Our View is actually the documentary for Ulster Television. Our View. And I went to Northern Ireland and to film that because I don't like soldiers. I don't like, machine guns, soldiers pointing out on people. But the heartbreaking news is another one which has been going on in Gaza. Gaza has been taken over by the Israeli government completely. They swallowed it like a little kebab and shoving over those 2 million people by a private company. And you know how the private company operates. The, hungry, people with nothing in there their homes have been bombed literally in the last 5-6 months, continuous bombing. And as we speak, there's still going on the bombing. Hamas has always been made as a pretext. Who is Hamas? Why they're there? Why can't the mighty army of Israel can control them? So it's a pretext. Again, in the shadow of that, they can do their dirty work by killing innocent people. Anyway, that's another day's work. And I will bring Tara O'Grady, who is an activist, in the studio to talk about her work and what is going on in that part of the world. So what I'm saying is that in narrowing down to, if you pair it with the current situation in India and Pakistan, is that, of course, there are certain players, international players, who are interested in selling arms to both sides, to India and Pakistan, and give them a both. So in order to strike a peace, there are certain neighbors who are worried. And why not? There is a reason to be worried about, because both our nations are, India and Pakistan, are nuclear nations. And so therefore, nuclear is not going to be used, because the promise is that escalation of war will not happen. The de-escalation. Pakistan themselves have said that if India will stop attacking Pakistan, we will not retaliate, we will not attack back. Otherwise, it will go out of hand and both countries can destroy the world. And that is not going to... That has been talked about it, actually, to be honest with you, before as well. So this is something which is very serious. And if the economic cooperation, if the SARC can be resurrected, if the, all of these things can happen, we could certainly create peace in the region. And a lot to be gained about from the peace rather than from the war. If you have a peace, why India is strong now and capable of striking it back, because economically for the last 45 years, since the Kargil war took place, a Kargil war was also been limited in that region of Himalayas region. It didn't spread anywhere. So because there's no war in the region, countries have progressed, have become prosperous, and indeed people have become very confident. But all of that will be shattered in a minute if the war will continue. You've seen that countries like Libya, who's gone now, devastated by the war, countries like Iraq, who's been devastated by the 11 years of war with Iran, and then the first Gulf War, the second Gulf War, Afghanistan. These are the examples of devastated rebels countries. And of course, now the Gaza, the Palestine, which has been destroyed deliberately in order to gain land. Now, the other point is this hungry appetite of gaining land is something globally happening. And I mentioned that, in my last program, that why these people have become obsessed with land, because other countries are doing it. Mr. Putin has been invading Ukraine and to grab the land. Crimea has been gone, and the pretext that yes, it was our land. So-called same logic applies here. India could turn around and is already saying it was our land. And whatever the agreement was, that was rubbish. It was the biggest mistake of Mr. Gandhi to agree to divide the country along the lines of Hindu Muslims. Because now look at the Muslim population of India, which is bigger than the Pakistani Muslim population. The country was divided on the lines of that people can go and live in Pakistan. What rubbish, what nonsense. Nobody can just get up and go anywhere because of the on the principles of their faith. They can practice their faith where they're born and they die there. So that's what my take on that is. And that is something which is very, very important. And I must take some tracks which are at the moment, the emotions are running high. People are really, really proud of the Indian Armed Forces. And so therefore I've chosen certain tracks to celebrate the successful Operation Sindoor. Aap sabko Operation Sindoor Mubarak. Congratulations for a very, very acutely and astutely, what I call it, a very clearly, smartly operated and executed Operation Sindoor. Sit back, relax, and listen to this song and enjoy this song.
तलवारों पे सरवार दिए, अंगारों में जिस्म जलाया है, तब जाके कहीं हमने सर पे ये केसरी रंग सजाया है। ऐ मेरी ज़मीं अफसोस नहीं जो तेरे लिए 100 दर्द सहे महफूज रहे तेरी आन सदा चाहे जान मेरी ये रहे ना रहे मेरी ज़मीं महबूब मेरी मेरी नस नस में तेरा इश्क बहे फीका ना पड़े कभी रंग तेरा जिस्मों से निकल के खून कहे तेरी मिट्टी में मिल जावा गुल बन के मैं खिल जावा इतनी सी है दिल की आरज़ू तेरी नदियों में बह जावा तेरे खेतों में लहरावा इतनी सी है दिल की आरज़ू सरसों से भरे खलियान मेरे जहाँ झूम के भंगड़ा पा न सका आबाद रहे वो गांव मेरा जहाँ लौट के वापस जा न सका ओ वतना में मेरे वतना में तेरा मेरा प्यार निराला था कुर्बान हुआ तेरी असमत पे मैं कितना नसीबों वाला था तेरी मिट्टी में मिल जावा गुल बन के मैं खिल जावा इतनी सी है दिल की आरज़ू तेरी नदियों में बह जावा तेरे खेतों में लहरावा इतनी सी है दिल की आरज़ू केसरी ओ हीर मेरी तू हंसती रहे तेरी आंख घड़ी भर नम ना हो मैं मरता था जिस मुखड़े पे कभी उसका उजाला कम ना हो ओ माई मेरी क्या फिक्र तुझे क्यों आंख से दरिया बहता है तू कहती थी तेरा चांद हूँ मैं और चांद हमेशा रहता है तेरी मिट्टी में मिल जावा गुल बन के मैं खिल जावा इतनी सी है दिल की आरज़ू तेरी नदियों में बह जावा तेरी फसलों में लहरावा इतनी सी है दिल की आरज़ू
Yeah, मेरे भाइयों, that sums up the mood of the soldiers, which are right now on the border. And once again, I'm emotional today because this is not something what we envisage to live in peace with our neighbors. This is not something that we should contemplate in the long term. This is not something that what we have learned in the last 70 years since 1947, since the country has been born out of very, very powerful division, very bloody division, should I say. Each and every family of Muslim community has been divided between India and Pakistan, including my own family, including many families who's been divided. Half of them went to Pakistan, and what happened to them? No, what I'm trying to explain is that as long as this particular problem will not be taken at a very, very large, scale of intellectuals, writers, people who have not been, who's been sort of fueled by the hatred of each other's, Now, unfortunately, the current regime is not helping in that sense because anti-Muslims feelings within India has been at rising since the current regime is in power. But no criticism of the current regime in a sense of taking the steps, and of course the full marks and salute to the armed forces who have acted. Now that is an Indian armed forces, regardless of their religion, regardless of their background, regardless of where they come from. They would do it when it comes to the matter of nation. The entire nation gets behind the armed forces and salute the country and the operation of the country. And that was the case in this way as well. So this is something but what require is the peaceful existence, first of all, among the multi-religious people of the nation, which our constitution demands, which our constitution enshrines that all people of all faiths, whether they are Hindu, Muslims, or Christians who are basically living in this country called India, must live together, must live among each other with a complete bhaichara, brotherhood, and things like that. Regardless of what happens across the border in Pakistan, and if it's the people will get automatically emotional because of the fact that they are have some relatives there, or they have some sort of a soft corner for the issues related to Pakistan. Anyway, that has been reflected in movies such as Bajrangi Bhaijaan, if you remember, the typical cricket match. Oh yes, talking about the cricket match, we have invented IPL, and we are quite happy to actually celebrate what IPL, the grand IPL, is all about. But what is required is the neighboring countries having a friendly cricket matches, which has been suspended ever since the Imran Khan has been ousted in politics across the Pakistan and all that. So this is something very important that in order to peaceful existence, you must play sports, cricket must play a vital part in it, and therefore, in the long term, we're talking about, not in the immediate future, because the scar of this surgical strike, Operation Sindoor, and this, pahalgam will be, not going to wipe out in a jiffy. It will be, obviously, 26 women have lost their husbands. Their suhag has been lost. Their sindoor has been lost. And therefore, very appropriately, 26 people has been quoted across the border that they have taken a revenge from. So, tit for tat happened. You lost 26 people in Pahalgam. I've taken 26 lives across the border in Operation Sindoor. And that's it. It should not move forward anymore. However, the sentiments will continue to rise high and things like that. So, but that's childish, I would say. That's not a very mature thing to do. And people should refrain from escalating the war into a magnitude of a war where nobody could survive. 1 billion people, 1.4 billion people across the border of Pakistan, and a few 100,000 people in Pakistan, they're all gone. They'll all will be wiped out if the nuclear takes place. So therefore, all of that has to be restrained and has to be come to the senses of to the people. Anyway, I'll take another track, which is also a beautiful track. Sit back, relax, and enjoy it.
Yeah. देखो जीत खड़ी, हम मुझे कब से इंतजार था आज की शाम का। अब देखो क्या करता है ये बंदा हिंदुस्तान का, जो किसी के भी आगे झुका नहीं। हाँ मैं हूँ उस देश का, तू बैठ के ले नजारा इस ट्रैवल और बेस का। सीधा चलूं या चलूं ढाई ढाई चाल, मैं खेल मेरा होगा ये देख लंबी रेस का। मिट्टी का कर्ज है मैं मर के भी चुकाऊंगा, तुझे मिट्टी कर दूंगा या फिर मिट्टी में मिल जाऊंगा। जो भी कहा था मैं वो करके दिखाऊंगा, इंडिया से हूँ खाली हाथ नहीं जाऊंगा। मैं जम के पकड़ झाड़ दूंगा, तुझको मैं उखाड़ दूंगा। जहाँ से तू आया है ना वहीं तुझे गाड़ दूंगा। तेरी जमीन पे आज तुझे ही पछाड़ दूंगा, झंडा इंडिया का बेटे गाड़ दूंगा। मुझे कोई परवाह नहीं, तुमको मैं दिखाऊं मुझे कोई परवाह नहीं। माँ ही मेरा रब है, मेरी माँ ही मेरा पीर, मेरी माँ के पैरों के अलावा कोई दरगाह नहीं। नाचूंगा नाचूंगा मुझको फितूर है, नाचूंगा नाचूंगा दिल मजबूर है। आज की शाम मेरी माँ के है नाम, मेरी माँ मुझे देखेगी नाचना जरूर है। मैं जीतूं या हारूं मुझे नाचना जरूर है, मेरी माँ मुझे देखेगी नाचना जरूर है। नाचना जरूर है, मुझे नाचना जरूर है। माँ मुझे नाचना जरूर है, माँ मेरी देखेगी नाचना जरूर है।
रंग केसर शूरा वालिया, रंग सब्ज खिली फुलकारियां, ओ रंग चिट्टा नीयत साफ दा, ओ रंग तीनों
सच्चाई का और अच्छाई का है माए माए माए।
रंग तेरी रीत का, रंग तेरी प्रीत का, रंग तेरी जीत का ही छाए छाए। कैसे मैं चुकाऊं तेरा एहसान, माए तेरी चुनरिया लहराए।
जब तक मुझ में है जरा सी जान, माए तेरी चुनरिया लहराए। तेरा नाम है साजा,
वंदे मातरम, वंदे।
शीतलं शस्यश्यामलां मातरं वन्दे। सुजलां सुफलं मलयजशीतलां 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 शस्यश्यामलां मातरं वन्दे।
That's another beautiful song. And if you see the visuals of the songs, that has got a very impact on that. So most of the songs are obviously talking about Vande Mataram, the Shaurya, the bravery of our own, soldiers who would, always be ready to reply. They'd never take initiative. They never take the first step to do anything. I mean, if you look at this, India has never invaded any country. India has never actually put, this kind of nonsense about, giving the neighbors a hard time or anything like that. So because people over there are much more concerned about making their lives better by education, by hard work, by their profession, particularly in our profession, in the film and television industry, in the media industry. People are working very hard in order to put their country's name on the world map. And, whether it's a film, television, and of course, how can I forget the mentioning of the WAVE International Summit that happened in Mumbai recently. WAVE is the world forum for entertainment, and all the problems of piracy and OTT and the digital content that we produce is now being secured and available on the WAVE platform. And WAVE is something with our Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji has actually launched in the presence of the entire film industry recently in Mumbai. So things are happening in a big way. And India is no longer that India used to be of 1961 or 71. It has a powerful army. It has a powerful technology. It has so the message should be very, very clear to our neighbors, aggressive neighbors who thinks that they can go inside, like in Pahalgam, and do this kind of nonsense by killing people on point blank, unless that has been orchestrated, that has been framed, that has been created in order to create a bigger action. That's another theory. That's another day's work to think about, to brood over. Because why would you do it? Why would any country would they not know the fact that the response would be so powerful that there will be? And of course, the message has gone now. Very clearly, message has gone in the befitting surgical strike that's it. You cannot do that. The armed forces, the people in the army will not be able to tolerate, and India will by any means will not tolerate the terrorism on their border, and not only border but inside their soil. So that's what the clear message has gone to the Pakistani people, the government, and the people who've been caught off guard, and they were in denial that, oh, no, the war will not happen, the people will not attack, the country will not be, and it'll be diplomatic and things like that. No, it will not be diplomatic about it when you come in and trained aggressors, the terrorists in your camps, in your soil, which will then cross the border and come and do this kind of things. So anyway, I will leave you. Thank you very much for listening to the program. And I hope you would have understood a little bit about the background and the region. I didn't want to talk about the other important issues that I want to talk about it, perhaps maybe for the future programs. But thank you very much, Sharad, for doing a great analysis. Thank you, Charmain, for putting the kind of news. And I will leave you with this particular track.
जब बात होगी आगे मिलेंगे कतारों में हम तो क्या ज़मीं पे रहे ना रहे मुस्कुराएंगे तारों में हम मुस्कुराएंगे तारों में हम वो बाग हंसता रहे हम जिसे हिंदुस्ता कहते हैं दुनिया में हम ही अकेले हैं जो माटी को माँ कहते हैं माटी को माँ कहते हैं माटी को माँ कहते हैं हम माटी को माँ कहते हैं माटी को माँ कहते हैं माटी को माँ कहते हैं हम माटी को माँ कहते हैं माटी को माँ कहते हैं
भारत माता की जय।